You're listening to the sound of 100 convolution reverb plugins playing at the same time. It's mental! You want to know what's even more mental? They're not running on CPU power, but on the graphic card. Yes, we are using this free early access plugin from GPU Audio, link in the description, to run audio through my GPU. Want me to show you how it works? Stay until the end as I chronologically take you through the top 5 inventions that changed music forever. Number 5. The Multitrack recorder. Early recorders consisted of a funnel that would vibrate along with the sound of music and a rotating wax cylinder to capture those vibrations. This man invented it. Later technology made use of a flat disk, thanks to this other man. But you would still have to put the entire band in front of the microphone, let's call it that, and record everything in one go. Fritz Pflaumer was the one who invented the tape recorder, but with still only one channel available, the music production process stayed pretty much the same. The real game changer came in 1955 when Ampex produced its first professional 8-track tape recorder, which immediately fell into the hands of guitarist and inventor Les Paul, who started layering sounds on top of one another, creating music that was never heard before. As early adopters of technology, the Beatles embraced multi-track recording to the point where they started sounding like the future. And in doing so, they set the stage for the modern way of making records, where technology has become an integral part of the composition. By the way, if you haven't subscribed to my channel by now, I don't know what you're waiting for. Come on, you can do it. Yes. Yes. Thank you. Great choice. Next! Number 4, the synthesizer. With the advent of electricity, it wasn't too long before somebody toyed with the idea of using it to make sounds, with a variety of contraptions, clearly, some of which looked and sounded really odd, like the theremin. The sound of the theremin was pretty much revolutionary, and it found its way in movies, advertising, science fiction, and pop culture pretty much instantly. Do you want me to demonstrate? What does a ghost sound like? Come on, make the sound. You mean this? But it wasn't until the 60s when American engineer Robert Moog started working on the idea of separate modules and then connect the modules with patch cords. The modular synthesizer was just born. The 70s saw the rise of portable monophonic synthesizers, which were a lot easier to take to a gig or to a studio session. Granted, those units could only play one note at a time, and by the time the polyphonic synthesizers finally came along in the form of the Oberheim OBX, Sequential Circuits Prophet 5, the era of electronic music was officially started. Next! MIDI. Up until the early 80s, you could only control the pitch of an oscillator with control voltage, CV, and turn it on and off with a gate, hence CV gate. But connecting gear from different manufacturers was a nightmare because of the difference in specs and features. With drum machines it was even worse, as there was no standardized way for electronic musical instruments to sync to each other. There was no talking, they couldn't talk together. However, in 1981, Dave Smith and Chet Wood of Sequential Circuits presented a white paper for a universal interface at Audio Engineering Society's conference in New York City. After abundant discussions that involved Roland, Yamaha, Korg, Kawai, Oberheim and Moog, the Musical Instrument Digital Interface, aka MIDI, was finally announced in 1982 and demonstrated for the first time at Winter NAMM the following year, when a Prophet 600 and a Roland JP6 were connected together. What followed was a revolution in music production. Now we could play multiple synths with just one keyboard. We could use sequencers and computers to record and play back multiple synthesizer parts. We could quantize, we could sync up to drum machines and even to tape. But even more significantly, we could now make music from our bedrooms with just a few instruments and a cassette recorder. Democratization of music making had finally begun. Next! Number 2. The sampler. The idea of playing back recordings at the touch of a button dates back to the late 60s. The Mellotron, for example, used multiple pre-recorded pieces of tape triggered by a keyboard to obtain realistic sounds like an orchestra or a choir. Effective, but clunky. However, digital technology was knocking at the doors of music, and EMS was able to put together the Muses system based on 2 PDP-8 microcomputers and capable of converting sounds from analog to digital and back. But the first system to make full use of polyphonic sampling was the 1979 Fairlight CMI from Australia. It was big, heavy, and scary expensive. Just like the Synclavier, which came out 1 year later. As integrated circuits became better and cheaper, samplers started to become more affordable, like the EMU emulator, the Ensoniq Mirage, the Akai S900. Some of them were designed to be self-contained groove machines, like the EMU SP1200, and most notably, the Akai MPC60. This technology allowed musicians to sample old bits of music and rearrange it in new, unpredictable ways. Minds were blown, and new styles were born, most notably hip-hop, a combination of vocal rhyming and sampler patterns. The impact of sampling on production and popular culture cannot be overstated. It literally changed music forever. Next and last, drum roll please, the DAW Digital Audio Workstation. Up until the 90s, computers were used in the studio mainly to program MIDI sequences that would trigger synthesizers and samplers. But if you wanted to record anything else, you still needed a multitrack recorder. Computers were just not powerful enough to handle multiple streams of audio data. That changed in 1991 when DigiDesign introduced Pro Tools, a sophisticated system capable of recording, processing, and mixing multitrack audio. Practically the entire recording studio was reduced to a Mac and a few cards. Over time, Pro Tools became bigger and more powerful, but it still needed external DSP power. As Macs and PCs CPUs became more capable, several manufacturers started integrating audio natively in their software. Cubase, Logic, Ableton Live, you know the score. Modern DAWs can run not only audio but also all kinds of effects and software instruments in the form of plugins. empowering artists with creative tools that were unimaginable even just a decade ago. The future is looking bright for DAWs, and with artificial intelligence, machine learning, and spatial mixing growing fast in the pro audio, next-gen computing power is the key to all music production innovation to come. That's why GPU Audio, the kind sponsors of today's video, have created a novel technology that allows us to harness the power of graphics card to run and process audio. Let me show you. So I have downloaded the early access software, created a session in Reaper, selected this substantial convolution reverb. Normally, this would crush any computer, but not this one, not today. It sounds amazing, doesn't it? The CPU usage, 5.2, GPU 32. At this time, GPU Audio is in pre-beta testing, and you can download the software for free using the link in the description, so that you can start experimenting with GPU Audio today. Keep an eye on their website because their full suite of beta plugins will drop in just a couple of months. You really don't want to miss that. You don't really want to miss Dr. Mix. And I look forward to you making great music as ever, feeling inspired, loved, and having a great day. Possibly watching this video next. Surely.